Oh, okay. And that's 8 children? Okay. All right. Boy, that's good. That's good. They're 8 beautiful children. Beautiful children. So happy to have them with us. And usually when Abby Johnson is in the room, she gets to speak. However, we're changing that now. She did not get to speak. Oh, and the program is Doug Johnson, her husband of how many years? 16. Okay, boy, you're youngsters. You are youngsters. Okay, one of these days you're gonna have a real harvest when it comes to grandparent time, and that's a good phase of life. Okay, I'm sure you will. And but I had the thought for quite a while that I would like to hear Doug Johnson speak about life with Abby. She's renowned for being calm, cool, collected, not too high, not too low. And so what would it be like to try to perk her up a little bit or settle her down a little bit? And so Doug, you saw him portrayed in the movie Unplanned, and he's been here once before. I'm delighted to have him here. And to not put too much pressure on him, he's not going to give a staged presentation. We have Ann Harder, who is, she retired at age 40, and she was at least 20 years out at the, on the anchor of Channel 25 News, where she had the opportunity to cover a pro-life story or two. And there were some doozies. And so Ann Harder is going to be interviewing Doug. And so now it is time for me to say, John Pisciotta, Pro-Life Waco here. I don't think I said that. To turn it over.
So I'm not going to worry about cameras. I'm just going to talk to you.
I'll just talk to you.
And you just talk to me. And we just have 1 or 2 friends out there listening in, so that's good. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, I get to watch Abby watch the kids.
A little bit of a role reversal.
Yes,
huh?
yeah. She'll see what it's
And
like.
that's okay, so that's good. Yeah, I had the chance to visit with your wife at an event with the Republican women of McLennan County not too long ago. And it was a delight to get to visit with her. But to be able to hear your side of the story is wonderful. Because the first thing I want to know, and I know everybody knows Abby's story, right? There's not anybody here that doesn't know she used to work for Planned Parenthood, right? So what was your thought during the years that she was working for? Did you have a problem with that ever?
Yeah, when we met, and then there was no intention. She never said, hey, I'm going to go work at Planned Parenthood. That wasn't her goal. She wanted to go into psychology and counseling and that sort of thing. And of course, I supported that. And then as things kind of rolled along, then she wanted to volunteer there. I was like, well, okay, she'll volunteer, and then we'll move on to something else. And then it snowballed. But once we got to the point where she was going to work there, we were past the point of deal breakers. Like, we were already in love. We were going to get married. We chose each other, and so I kind of went with it. But I went to a small private Christian school growing up, and it was non-denominational, which is just 90% Baptist is what that means. And then so I was brought up very pro-life. I just wasn't very good with pro-life apologetics or my argument and that sort of thing. I was pro-life with exceptions. I thought, oh yeah, we should have exceptions for rape and this sort of thing. And so I had a ton of holes in my argument. And so when she went to work there, didn't always love it. I loved the reason she wanted to work there. She thought she wanted to help women. And I could support that 1,000%. But then what she actually was doing, that was very hard. And then there was a lot of ups and downs as she worked there. I think she was employed there for the first 3 or 4 years that we were married. And but then when she left, couldn't have been happier. It was a great day.
Yeah. So how did you meet?
We met at Acme Glass in College Station, Texas. I was already been working there about a year, and she walked in with way too much confidence. Kind of got on my nerves. And it's a secretary job at a glass shop. Anyway. and she thought I wasn't very nice. So it was a great first impression for both of us. And then eventually she ended up working there. Like she worked at a different office, and then she came to our office, and then it was me, her, and another guy, just the three of us working, and it didn't take us long to become fast friends, really close. And she was, I don't know if y'all knew this, but I'm not her first husband. She was engaged when I met her. I actually went to that wedding with a date. And then, but because there was no chance for romance during that time, we had all the opportunity in the world to really just get to know each other.
And be good friends.
Yeah, we consider that quite a blessing, actually.
Yeah. So 16 years later,
Yes.
here you are.
Mm-hmm.
You went to school, you studied kinesiology.
Yes.
And what was your plan?
I
as
I
far
wanted
as
to
your
work in
career?
a gym
Uh-huh.
or something like that, manage a gym, that sort of thing. But when we got pregnant with our oldest, Grace, working 70 hours a week for minimum wage in a gym with no insurance didn't seem to make any sense. So we pivoted towards teaching, and I ended up going into special education, and did that for 5 years while Abby worked at Planned Parenthood.
So today, your role is as super dad,
Yes.
pretty much.
Yeah, but I don't accept that. Super dad.
I mean, I didn't know how you went with a Mr. Mom.
No, if you
Right,
know me
you may
well,
not like that at all.
no, I guess super dad will work. That's fine. I'll take it.
You
But,
go
yeah.
with super dad. I would say with 8 children, yes.
Yeah,
You definitely qualify.
yeah, yeah. So I stay home with the kids now and tote them around while Abby does what she does, and it's actually worked out pretty well for us. So we only got one left. It's about to go to school eventually, so I guess I'm gonna have another career change from stay-at-home dad to go and get out there dad. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit of an empty nest.
Yes.
But I would think still, with that many children and extracurricular things
Mhm.
they do,
Yeah, I'd probably have to go back into teaching, which I would dread. But yeah, may I'll go teach at the school they're going to, because they go to St. Mary's and Taylor, so they go to a Catholic school. So maybe if I went there and
So where do y'all live? I don't know.
Hutto.
You're in Hutto?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
very good. Well,
Mhm.
kind of a nice, quiet community, isn't it?
It was. It's getting pretty big now. It's
Is it?
growing. Yeah, it's growing a lot. But we don't mind it. We live in a great little neighborhood, surrounded by other families with kids our kids' age, and it's like, what do you say, Maryberry? Yeah, it's like Mayberry. Yeah. So,
That's my impression of what Hutto is.
Yeah.
Then let's talk about your children.
Yes, ma'am.
I know you've already introduced your oldest.
Okay.
And she looks just like her mother, I will say.
We'll take that, yeah.
She is a spitting image.
We will argue with you on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. What do we got? Okay, all right. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So tell me about the rest of these kiddos.
So Grace, we have 14, and then there's Alex, who's 9, Luke, 8, Carter, 7, Jude, 6, and then our 4-year-old twins, Maggie and Lucy. They have the biggest personalities in the room. And then we have Fulton, who's the one running by your knees underneath your tables right now. He's 2.
I was going to say, he
Yeah.
looks to be about 2.
Yeah.
Just one 2-year-old is worth about 8 other kids, though. It can be.
It can be, yes. He gets the majority of our attention. Yeah.
Well, do you have, when you're dealing with that many children, and that's your total responsibility, I mean, how do you structure your day to get everything done that needs to be done?
We strive in the chaos. Like I don't write everything out for the day, how it's gonna go.
You know, don't do lists and all
We
that.
don't do a ton of lists. We do have a calendar, so we know when to make lunch for them for school, or if they're gonna have hot lunch at school, that sort of thing, which is a big deal. We have a stamp where the kids can actually stamp the days they're gonna have hot lunch on there, which is fun for them. And then we do things like lay out their uniforms the night before, or get their lunches ready, and that's about a 1.5 hour process, just getting them ready for the next day of school, and then showers and everything, and get them to bed on time, and then you wake up, and it becomes routine whether you like it or not. Like, it doesn't matter if I wrote it down or not, but you go through all the exact same motions pretty often.
A hard and fast bedtime for everybody?
No, it's a general 8 to 9, somewhere in there.
But I would think once everybody's in bed, you can really
Yeah.
Take a breath.
Yeah, I can. Then I get to rock the 2-year-old to sleep, which is actually my favorite thing, is
Yeah.
because I get to sit still for a minute. He doesn't sit still, but I do.
After you fall asleep.
Yeah, I sometimes fall asleep first. But yeah, that's when we can, and Abby and I can watch a no-brainer TV show and just kind of turn off our heads and then go to sleep.
Yeah. Well, it is quite a career change for your wife. I mean, she really went through an epiphany of a sort.
Right.
To just turn on a dime. You've already explained that you were kind of on board for that.
For her changing?
Yeah.
Yes. So there were times when she'd bring home arguments when we were at home, when she was still working there, and I could, I could see where I could support that person getting an abortion. And she was very good with her talking points, and part of me was going along to get along. And so by the time she left, it was almost nerve-wracking because I was like, well, I've committed to this lifetime that we're going to do this. And I was like, well, if that's just my life, I guess that's just how it's going to go. And so whenever she decided she was going to quit, we were going down to my teaching salary. And then, I don't know, but then we learned through that, like, just make decisions that honor God, and God will honor those decisions. You know, He will follow through, and He really has. I mean, obviously 8 kids, quite the blessing. And I don't think she was supposed to do that. Whenever they gave her the Planned Parenthood Employee of the Year award, I don't think she was supposed to get hundreds of employees out of Planned Parenthood and start them in new jobs and then have 8 kids. I think that was the exact opposite of what they had in mind for her.
Yeah. Her heart for her fellow employees there, I think, is a remarkable part
Yes.
of what she does. Because there's got to be a lot of guilt involved, I would think.
Yes, yeah, there is. And I tell you, one thing something very common with the women that she helps get out is the nightmares begin.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
all,
really?
Yes, they all talk about the nightmares they have. Like, while they're there, it's not so bad, but then when they get out, and Abby will still tell you she has dreams and sometimes nightmares about being back there. But of course, she's pro-life whenever she goes back there in her dreams. For some
that's
reason,
good.
they need her to run their clinic, so she's just that good. But they're all mad at her because she's pro-life now. So it's so they've kind of become, I guess, a comedy. I don't know. It's ironic.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about your faith journey. Now, from what I read, everything you read on the internet is right, correct?
Yes.
So, I don't know, maybe this isn't right, but you were brought up Lutheran,
Yeah.
and Abby was Southern Baptist, right?
Yes, when my parents, I was raised by my adopted dad and my biological mother. And when they got married, he was in the Lutheran church, and so we did that. And then they kind of stopped going, but then they sent me to the private school. So I just started going to Baptist church. So high school was all Baptist churches for me with my friends. And then when I went to college, then I just kind of fell away from all of it. And while I was gone, then my parents started going to the Methodist church. I got a little taste of everything.
Oh, sure.
And so when I would go home, I would go with them. And then when Abby and I started dating, back to Baptist again with her. And then while she was working at Planned Parenthood, she didn't feel terribly accepted in Baptist church. I can't imagine why. And then we found a home in the Episcopal church. And so that's where we were going. And then when Abby changed her mind, about a year into that, they more or less gave us the boot. They're like, you can't be here and be pro-life. They just didn't want us there.
I would think that they'd be real open-minded about people's
Oh, no, they're only
decisions.
open-minded to what the left has to say, or,
Oh.
yeah, they're extra woke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, from
And
the
then from
Episcopal,
there, we started visiting churches again, but all our new friends were Catholic, because that's just how the pro-life movement is. And they kept getting us to come, and we fell in love almost right away with the liturgy and couldn't wait to get to the Eucharist. It was like a race
Really?
to get to it for me. And then,
Yeah.
so we did RCIA privately because, Abby, they didn't want Abby coming into RCIA, and then everybody wanted to ask her questions about what she does instead of everybody paying attention to coming into
Right.
the church. And so we did ours privately as a family with our sponsors, and it went really well. And then I think towards the end, Abby said, I don't know if I'm going to go or not. And I looked at her and said, well, I'm going in with or without you. And she said, okay, well, I guess I'm going in then, because it's not, I don't know if you knew this, she's slightly stronger personality, willed and stubborn. So when I put my foot down on things, she's like, okay, I'll support that, and we'll go. And so that's how we ended up.
So how
Catholic.
long since you converted?
I want to say we came in 2012.
Oh, okay.
So what's that? 9 years?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. I love hearing that because, you know, the issue of abortion is so political,
Mhm.
but it is a faith-based issue
It really
too.
is. Yes. Yeah. And we have noticed that there are a lot of pro-life groups that they have gay pro-life groups, atheist pro-life groups, all these other different secular
Really?
pro-life, but they find their way home. I mean, I don't think you can support life and seek why you support life. Like if you're on that journey to defend life, I don't know how you don't find God, find Jesus, and find your way back into the church family.
Yeah,
somehow.
I guess I've always thought the whole issue with abortion is a heart issue.
Mhm.
And if you change the heart of that woman through understanding, it's not a question what she'll choose.
Right. Yeah, I think I think it's also like that's how science works, right? We're seeking some sort of truth through science. We got to find out where we came from,
Right.
why we're here. Do we have a creator? Do we not? And so I feel like same thing with abortion. I think that's one of the greatest like arguments that's going to lead people to home, because I mean the only conclusion you can come to, life begins at conception. So what is this miracle that is happening when life is created, and then eventually, yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the whole experience of the book.
Okie dokie.
Unplanned, and in the movie. First of all, what was the process like because she's so busy,
Yeah.
to write a book too? I'm just in awe of anybody that can write a book, but much less maintain the schedule she
She has a very wonderful woman named Cindy that she works with for her books, and they get together and they go back and find all Abby's blog posts, some of mine.
So she's writing all along.
Yeah, and then they
Yeah.
and then maybe look at some of Facebook posts, and then Abby tells stories maybe she hasn't told publicly before, and they sit and they record their conversations, and they just write together. And it's really a group effort, and Cindy's really, really good and talented at capturing Abby's voice and making sure that her story is told through Abby's voice and eyes. And so they get that together, and she does the bulk of the typing it out, and then she'll send it back to Abby, and she'll read it, send it back, no, change this, let's do that, and this is a better way to say it, or this is how I would have said it. So that's kind of how they go back and forth on that. I'm not sure how long it takes. It comes out faster than I can imagine.
Really?
Yeah, when you look at a book this big, you think, oh, it must take years, but
Yeah, right.
really it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
So then, what was it like to realize, oh, there's a production company that wants to pick this up?
That was because it wasn't the first. We had several people reach out to Abby saying they wanted to make a movie. And then we'd look at some of the movies they'd made, and no, the answer was an obvious no. Oh, well, there we go. Is that better?
We'll get-
All right.
We'll get the technology here.
And so, like one guy, I think he had done some horror movies, and we watched one, and we turned it off pretty quick. It was
Oh.
bad. It was just not even B quality. It was C, F, somewhere in there.
Yeah, really.
Move it your way. What do we want to do?
Yeah. Getting some feedback here, that's all right.
Is it the chair?
I don't know what it is.
You want us to try, you want me to
Is that working?
It's working now.
Okay.
say it?
All right.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, and then we had a couple others, and then these other guys reached out, and so Abby kind of looked them up. And we have another friend who's done, I don't know if you've seen the movie Bella.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay, so Abby's good friends with one of the producers from that, Jason
Oh, yeah.
Jones.
Yeah, that was a great movie.
And she's met Eduardo, who's probably one of the sweetest scatterbrains you're ever going to meet in your life. He's a great
Wonder why
guy.
that industry attracts that type.
But he and Abby have a very good relationship. So she reached out to them and was like, do you know who these guys are? Should I go with them? And they looked it up, and they're like, well, they did God's Not Dead, so yes, you absolutely should go with them. And then we had to go watch God's Not Dead. And so they reached out to us. We had a few meetings in our living room, and really good guys, very prayerful guy. They were Catholic converts as well, and come to find out, like, God's Not Dead was written kind of in a response to one of the writers, his dad, who was an atheist, who converted to Catholicism, and so that's where he started with that. But anyway, they couldn't wait to honor our story with a movie, and we thought, well, what a better way to get it out there, just another way to tell our story. And we knew that we had to get the visual of what Abby saw on the ultrasound screen.
Right,
That was,
right.
and the abortion, the medication abortion she experienced, what she had there, it was described really well in the book. But I think the visual, people experiencing that and feeling like they're in the room with her, I think that was very powerful too.
Yeah. What kind of response have you heard as a result of people seeing the movie? Have you?
We've
you
got
had
plenty of people
feedback?
telling us we're liars, which we ignore them, but we've had triple the amount of people that have contacted us to say, I once was pro-choice, or I once was, I believe in exceptions. Like wherever the movie met them at, wherever they were in their life, it moved them a little further towards a pro-life stance, if not all the way. And so we've had, it's very humbling to have people contact you and say, your story has changed our life. Because, I mean, like, we feel like only Jesus changes lives, but then to be used by Christ to change so many lives, it's very humbling, and it's almost, you don't even know how to carry that weight, but it's fun. It's wonderful to watch how that works.
It's got to be gratifying
Very.
to realize by just saying yes
Mm-hmm.
where you end up.
Yes, and you got to let a lot of things go. You just say, okay, we'll just make a decision and then go with it and see where the
Yeah.
fruit grows, and it's
Yeah.
worked out pretty well so far.
So was there a lot of falderall? That's not the right word, but just fanfare with like the premiere and all that, red carpets. Did you have that kind of experience?
We did.
Like-
We got to go to California and go to
Uh-huh.
the Grom's Chinese
Did
Theater.
you really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where they did the premiere, and we got in tuxedos. Grace got to go with us, and
Get all
she's-
gussied up?
Oh yeah, and she did a couple interviews, and she blew me away with the confidence that young lady has. Is pretty amazing. And and Abby did tons of interviews, and we did the red carpet thing, walked through, got to see Pat Boone was there. That was really
Oh.
fun. I didn't get
Did
to
he have
say
his
hi to him.
white shoes on?
Yeah, but I really wanted to say hi to him because I had a friend growing up. He had a couple Pat Boone albums, and he had one that was like in a metal mood where Pat Boone had
Oh, I know.
an earring,
With a little earring,
and he
yeah,
sang
I remember.
Metallica songs and stuff like that. I really wanted to tell him about that. Was my introduction to his work, knowing that he'd been there for generations of people.
Oh,
and-
yeah. Oh, my
and
goodness,
of
yes.
course, the My Pillow guy, Mike, was there, and
Yeah.
some NFL football players. We had quite a bit of really great people there, and it was a lot of fun.
That's exciting. I wanted to hear about that. Got to be, one of the highlights as far as the fun part or a happy, positive part of it. Were there negatives though to the whole experience with the book and the movie?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no, because it's when somebody's telling your story about your life, you kind of want control over that, and you want it told a certain way, and you want Abby to be free to be Abby in promoting her movie. But again, I don't know if you know this, Abby's kind of strong-willed and speaks her mind and very bold. And sometimes she get a little too bold for the producers, and they'd be like, "Can you please take that to Abby?" Abby would be like, "No, like
This is my life."
yeah, everybody's here for."
Yeah.
You wanted to do this about me. Can you let me be me? And so there was a little butting heads there, and but I mean, it wasn't in a way where like we were just angry with each other all the time. It was just maybe a difference in philosophy and our public persona. And all we ever want to do is be authentic and honest and as transparent as possible. We found that's just the best policy. And so,
Overall, then you're pleased with what
yeah.
happened?
Yeah, absolutely. It was, like I said, when you have so many people calling you to say their life has been changed by your story,
Oh, yeah.
then
You gotta
what
know
else
you
can
did
you
something
ask for?
right.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about you a little bit more.
Okay.
Your Facebook page.
Yes, ma'am.
I love it. It's called Doug on Tap.
Yep.
You need to explain that. But your header is a quote by Billy Graham, and it's "A good father is one of the most unsung, unpraised, unnoticed, and yet one of the most valuable assets in our society."
Yes.
So just expound on that.
No, I feel like we've Satan's going to attack the family. That's his best shot at destroying the world, is attacking the family. And what's the saying? As the family goes, or as the church goes, the nation goes, so as the family goes.
Right.
And I've always felt that building stronger families is what's going to save our country. It's not these politicians. It's not laws. It's not rules. It's building stronger families and
Give 'em some applause for that.
Yeah, well, thank you. Putting good humans in the world, and we got good chance. I think out of 8 kids, we'll we might do okay somewhere in there. But we figured we did our job. We want to have more people voting our way than everybody else's way. That's why we had so many. But anyway, the role my dad played in my life, I didn't appreciate it when I was young. I didn't appreciate the way he got on to me, and I thought he was just trying to torture me by telling me to turn off the cartoons and go pick up sticks so he could mow the grass when I'm 6, 7 years old. I'm like, I go to school all week, and all I want is to watch Bugs Bunny on a Saturday. Can you please let me do that? But no, he taught me the value of hard work, and he got me to go out and get my first job, and he taught me, protect your hands that you work with. You only get one pair, so wear gloves when you're digging holes and whatever he was torturing me with that day.
Good
And
advice there.
Yeah, you only get one set of eyes. Protect those things because you need them to do work. And really just how to be a leader. And I feel like that's what we need men to do. We really need men to step up and be good fathers and be good role models. They're just as important as mothers, equal importance, but in different ways. And we've really kind of devalued the father a lot of ways in our society, and we're seeing the results of that.
Oh, yeah, I think a lot of the situation comedies, going back many years, the dad was made to be the buffoon.
Yeah, the doofus dad.
Yeah.
And then the mean harpy wife.
Yeah.
I guess you could say Everybody Loves Raymond is the one which I actually like that show, but you could see where, he doesn't want to pay attention to his kids. He just wants to sit around and watch TV all day and eat, and not a very good dad, not even a good Catholic. He doesn't like going to mass and that sort of thing. And I think we see that played out in a more mild manner, in real life, but it's still, it's hurtful. It does do damage. And so again, we need more men to just take the reins and say, no, we are going to mass. And my boys, I get up, I bang on the door, and all right, get up, get dressed, and I'm the one, I get them dressed, get them ready, I cook their breakfast, and I lead them to mass, and that's just the way it works. So we try to build it that way.
Yeah, that does my heart good to hear that.
Yeah.
You got a pretty good mix between girls and boys.
3 girls, 5 boys.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
So how do you parent them differently?
I don't know. It's a great question. I guess, I don't know if the girls get it softer because the twins, they can.
Do you?
I parent myself.
No, you do not. She parents the other boys. But.
Spoken like a teenager.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got the teen years to deal with too. Yeah.
I let her kind of make her own mistakes. Every day when she gets in the car for school, she tells us what she did or didn't get in trouble for, but we always get good notifications from the school on her behavior, and so we're pretty happy with that. And she knows she can come to us with questions, and she does very often. We just had a conversation recently about homosexuality, and she comes to us with that. And again, I think going back to raising, so you want to raise your kids so that they know where to go when they have a question or they get in a bind or that sort of thing. Because going back to the abortion issue, if your kid gets pregnant and they don't think they can come to you and tell you, I've made this mistake, well, guess who's waiting? It's Planned Parenthood.
Oh yeah.
And that's who's in our schools grooming them, getting them ready to no, you come give us your $500 and we'll take care of that problem for you. You don't even have to tell your parents. But we want to make sure we raise our children, no matter what, to come to us, because we'll hug them, kiss them, tell them it's okay, and then smack them on the back of the head and move forward from there. So just making sure they know they can come to us, and that's really the whole thing. And I guess what's different, going back to your question, you said how to raise them differently. I try to take the boys camping, and we hunt, and my parents live on quite a bit of acreage, so we go out there and we do as much outdoor stuff as we can. But the girls love to do it too.
I was going to say, I bet those girls are right there with you.
No, the girls can't wait to do it, and
Yeah.
we just, whatever they're passionate about, we try to encourage that and pursue it in a healthy way.
Yeah, you mentioned the advice you learned from your dad. What's the important advice you want to impart on your kids?
On my
What do you
kids?
want them when they're 30-something, I guess, 40-something, whatever you are?
No, 43, yeah.
Okay. That was a pretty cagey way of asking you.
Yeah.
But what will they say about what you imparted to
Hopefully they'll learn what it means to serve others and to serve your family. And God gave these kids to Abby and I to raise up for Him, to go out and hopefully serve others the way we serve them. Again, like I said, I get up every Sunday morning, make their breakfast, get their clothes ready, I make their lunches throughout the week, and I hope they see that as I do it with a smile on my face as much as I can, because I want them to see that I see this as work for them, like this is my vocation, this is my job, and this is what I've been asked to do. This is striving for holiness over happiness, right? And therefore, like, if you strive for holiness, and to be holy, not holier than thou, but to be who God intends for you to be, then you will find happiness in that. You will find joy and comfort, and it's really just an amazing, fun life to lead. And so I want them, when they go out into the world, to have that service-minded heart and to really seek out people who need their help and really just help the person standing in front of them as much as possible, and to be there and be kind and but truthful.
Yeah.
Always be truthful.
Yeah, I see this somewhat that it is a season.
Mm-hmm.
This is a season in your life right now.
Right.
And your wife she's in demand and
Mm-hmm.
taking center stage.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking the support role. I think of the old song "Wind Beneath My Wings," but
No.
you are kind of
Yes.
don't you think you're kind of supporting that? She's in the limelight.
Mm-hmm.
I think for some men that might be a very hard thing.
Yeah, but again, she's great at it. And like, I don't ever want to stand in front of my maker and say like, well, my ego got in the way of her going out
Yeah.
and saving lives, changing the world. And people, so where's Abby at? And I have no idea.
She's off doing her thing.
I think I'll see her for Thanksgiving, and we'll be back. But we are heavily rewarded. We work hard and we play even harder. Like, we have the whole summer. She's home for all of it, and we make sure to spend as much time playing and having fun with our family as we possibly can. We got a boat, get out on the water, do the camping. We rented a camper and went to Colorado and back and had the best time. That was a really fun 10-day trip or so.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you have a favorite destination that you like to take all the kids to?
Well, Pikes Peak was great. That was a lot of fun. And really, Lake Georgetown down there, we're going to start heading out, looking at all the lakes. And Abby and I have places just she and I go for, I guess, the getaways where we self-care for just us.
Yeah.
And the kind of
So who mans the fort when you guys are gone?
our parents, and we have a great village. We have some other friends and everybody else that helps us out. And they call them aunts and uncles. We call them our best friends. And yeah, they come over and help get them to school and take care of them, make sure they're still alive when we get back.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's see.
You're asking to explain the Doug on Tap thing, so.
Yeah. What was the meaning behind?
Well, when I started the page and I couldn't figure out what to name it, and Abby kept coming home and saying, people need you to start posting things, because they asked me a million questions for you, because I'm not there at her events with her. And they said, what about your husband? What about his story? What's he like? And she's like, you need to start a blog so I can stop answering these questions. And anyway, so I did, and it grew pretty quickly, but trying to come up with a name, I had a real passion for craft beer at the time, and I'd really gotten into it. And so I just thought the tap, like, well, what else is on tap? Like your thoughts, opinions, that's what I was. Doug on Tap. It just kind of worked. It was short enough too, like when you got to buy your domain name and all that kind of thing. And I didn't want it to be too long for people to type, like get annoyed trying to type it in to look up your website either. And so that's how it started, and it just kind of went from there. But now I'm actually 6 months sober. I stopped drinking 6 months ago. It's been a wonderful journey. It really had kind of taken a grip and taken a hold, and I wasn't the best parent and husband I could be. And then 6 months ago, on March 30th, I just kind of made this, it was time. I had to sober up, and it has actually been the best decision I've ever made. And I'm very
your
thankful for it.
Facebook post referred to sober parenting.
Yes, yeah.
There must be a story behind that.
Well, I think it's weird, how do you deal with it? And I used to make the joke, well, that's why God made alcohol. But now I'm kind of backing off that. I feel like I miss it, I do, but when your kids are trying to do homework and you're counting the seconds to your next drink, you're not present in the parenting experience. You're not present for your kids. And so I had to face that hard truth that I was I had this addiction and I had this thing that was definitely a big, huge wall between me and my family, and it had to go. And so, and it was tough. I mean, that first 2 weeks of being sober, that hurts. Like, it gives you a headache and you're mean, and I was a grumpy son of a gun. And, but we got through it. Abby pretty much ignored me for those 2 weeks, and then it got better, and I started feeling better, and then it's like, why would I ever go back to it? And I lost
Right.
about 28 pounds. I got to buy a whole new wardrobe, which is great because I saved all this money from not buying alcohol. So,
So, and you just did this cold turkey on your own, or did you have support group? Or?
I have tremendous support. We
Yeah.
agreed that going to something like AA would not be the best idea with Abby's very public life. If we go there and there's somebody who's very pro-abortion and they don't like
Oh,
me,
yeah.
there's no telling what they could come out and say or what they would say. We were also worried about opposition coming after me as maybe a hypocrite or not being as transparent as possible or just saying really nasty, because they already were saying. I can't tell you how many women have emailed Abby and said I took them to bed. Who even talks like that? I don't even know, but just really horrible things that people have said about us and me, just trying to go after Abby. They used me quite a bit. And so we were a little nervous, well, how would that affect my recovery, that kind of stress? And then we've kind of just gave it up. We gave that up to God, and we were like, you know, we made this decision. We are going to be what we always are, is 100% honest and straightforward and out there. And if Abby's story about leaving Planned Parenthood changed so many lives, why wouldn't my story that's ongoing? I mean, it's still, I'm only 6 months in. And so we decided we'll wait 6 months, make sure it sticks, and it's a lifestyle and a decision I can explain and talk about coherently, and not just still be confused from figuring it out. And I still am, obviously, and then put it out there. And the reaction's been tremendous. A lot of people have called me, my son, I need him to stop drinking, or I've stopped drinking. A lot of men and women contacting me, and then them asking, again, going back, I didn't go to AA or anything else. I had a really, really good friend. She had stopped drinking 2 years before, and she gave me a book. And that was another thing. She spent $12 on a book, her own money, to help me stop drinking. I guess I should give it a shot. And so, and then.
What was the book?
It was called This Naked Mind. And it actually kind of talked against AA. And so, like, a lot of it's dated information, and there's more science to it. It needs to be updated. And I got only about a third of the way through it. I don't really have time to read. I don't know if you knew I have 8 kids, but
You're a little busy.
I got far enough in it that I felt, okay, I can do this. And then I really have a gazillion cheerleaders and just a lot of people, my mom, my dad. I lost no social friends. Like, my social life didn't change a bit. Everybody quit with me, actually.
Yeah.
And if they were around, they didn't drink with me, or they wouldn't drink around me. And I haven't been to a bar. I've been to restaurants. I've been to gatherings where people drank, and it was fine. It was actually very okay. And people have just been nothing but supportive, and that's where I found my support.
Well, you are to be commended
Well, thank you.
for sharing that with us, because it does encourage a lot of people. Yeah, it's an addiction that can be quite a
Yeah, whether or not I ever have a
stronghold.
drink again, I have no idea. But for now, it's just not an option. And
Yeah.
if I never do, I guess that's okay.
Well, we're running a little bit short of time. We
Okay.
would like to ask, any questions from the audience, if they have any as well. But I do a podcast, and I like to end them with a little questionnaire. It's like the one the late, great James Lipton would use on Inside the Actors Studio.
Loved him.
That ring a bell? Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so this is sort of my take on it. What is your favorite word?
Oh, well, I can't curse in here, can I? Just kidding. Vocation.
Vocation.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a wonderful word. It gives definition and a path to go down. I think when you really work out what the word vocation means and is, then it really gives you a lot of purpose.
Yeah. What's your least favorite word?
Oh. Woke.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen to that. Whew. What turns you on creatively, emotionally, or spiritually?
You know, I love just good storytelling. I really love movies and books and that sort of thing. I just love a good story. I like seeing others. So that makes me want to be a good storyteller, and I like to do that creatively on my page. But I also if my kids need something, like I got these 4 boys and they needed some bunk beds, so I built bunk beds, and that was something I took from my dad, like just working with your hands and creating something. I had a picture in my head, and thank God for Pinterest, y'all, because trying to explain to my wife what I'm going to make without
But
a
you
visual.
found it on
Yeah,
Pinterest.
I was like, this is what it's going to look like, but not quite. And then she had no faith that I could do it. But by the time I was done, she walked up there and she goes, "I will never question you again. You
Look at
did a
you."
good job." And so it did turn out great. And it's a fun little space for them, and they really like it. But building, working with my hands, anything like that, that's something I really love.
Okay, then what turns you off creatively or spiritually or emotionally?
I started watching this show, and it was about all these dishonest storytelling, like just completely being dishonest, lying, making stuff up, trying to paint people a certain way that is really just nothing but negative. So like this show, all the men on the planet died at the exact same time, and there was only women left except for one man. But then we got all these trans men that didn't die, even though they felt in their heart they were men. They didn't die. I was like, I want to see where this goes. But it got so woke, I had to turn it off. It was awful. They really railed conservatives and Christians and that sort of thing. I was like, I can't support this or watch it. So anything like that, and anybody that doesn't want to take accountability for their work, that's pretty bad. If you do a bad job on something, you need to go fix it.
Right, fix it, acknowledge it, and
Say you're sorry.
and move on.
Yes.
And then move on. Don't dwell on it. But
Right.
what sound do you love the most?
I like the first laugh from a child. I think that's probably one of my favorite. The first time Grace laughed, we were in a Kroger's and the produce section, and I stuck her foot in her mouth.
About 3 months old, is that it?
Somewhere in
It's
there, and
somewhere
she
in
just
there.
belly laughed really
It is
loud,
so
and
funny.
it was the greatest noise I'd ever heard. So I stuck her foot back in her mouth, and I just throughout the grocery store, just kept sticking her foot in her mouth.
Best pacifier ever.
Yeah, I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. I was like, stop it.
And she's just cackling.
Yeah.
What is your least favorite sound then?
Oh, kid, 5-year-old crying for no reason.
Yeah, I remember when the youngest one, we went through the whole day and we didn't have tears about something, or just, it's not even tears, it's just,
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's always a milestone when you get through a day without.
Actually, slamming doors. When
Oh, yeah?
kids start going in and out the front door or back door, and they're constantly slamming it or playing with the door, that drives me nuts. Can't take it.
Okay, what other profession would you like to do?
If I could go back, I think I would have skipped college and gone into carpentry.
Yeah, sounds like it with your bunk beds.
Yeah, and my St. Joseph was actually my confirmation saint, and so I would, any kind of trade, I wish I could go back and do that. Other than that, I'd like to learn how to help Abby make videos and content and stuff like that, any sort of tech thing, because that still taps into that creative side as well. And so, but anything that would help her further her message, I think that would be fun to do. But I can't do online classes. I need college to go back to the way it was.
Yeah.
Classes were in person with a professor.
Especially with something like that, you need them to
I need
actually
somebody to just show me how to do it
show
once, and then I'm fine.
what they want you to do.
Yeah.
Well, what profession do you know you would not want to do?
I don't know. I had a lot of good jobs, so I don't want to go into sports. That's too woke now.
Right.
Yeah.
Your least favorite word. All right, finally, what do you want to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I guess thanks for bringing so many.
Yeah, that's worth an applause. Well, I think this is supposed to end at 2 o'clock. We've got about 6 minutes. So are there any questions in the audience that you have for Doug? We kind of covered a lot. Anything we didn't cover you wanted to talk about?
Oh gosh, I have no idea.
Yeah,
This is her job, yeah. Did
I
I get
had-
everything, babe?
Yeah. Does she need to answer to anything?
Oh,
I don't think
know.
she
Did
does.
she correct anything?
Okay, yeah, John.
Doug, what's your answer to, you're a man, you don't have anything to say about abortion?
You know what? There was a cartoon somebody sent me on my page, and it had a jail cell, 3 jail cells. One said the mom, it had a woman in there. It had the doctor, of course, was a female doctor, and then an empty jail cell for the father. And I thought that is absolutely laughable from the left to say that we're the ones that got men off the hook, that said they're not responsible for this. They don't get to have an opinion. If anything, the pro-abortion argument has been nothing but stomp on the dad and say you don't get to speak. Whereas the pro-life argument is the one that's like, no, we need to hold men accountable. The abortion clinics are protecting the pimp, the adulterous husband, the promiscuous man. Like, that protects them, the rapists. They're all protected by abortion. Whereas the pro-life movement is like, no, we need to hold everyone accountable, including the doctor, the one that coerces somebody to go in and have an abortion. And I don't know if anybody else checked, but it takes two people, a man and a woman, to create a child. Both people should have an equal say. And I do have ears, eyes, and a brain. I can process information just as well as any woman. I mean, I know they are smarter than me, but I can do okay at it. And so there's no reason why I shouldn't get to have an opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, science is science.
Right.
I mean, what we know, what we see now, what Abby saw in that video is what totally turned her heart, changed her
Right.
mind.
Right. Yeah,
And her career
yeah,
path.
we're given senses for a reason.
Yeah.
And abortion offends the senses, and so, for everybody. So there's no reason why it should matter if you're a man or a woman or not on having an opinion.
To have an opinion.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
All right.
Yeah, but I'm glad John brought that up, because that is something I particularly wanted to touch on, because you are playing such a pivotal role in your wife's career by being able, for her being able to do what she's able to do.
Right.
In speaking, because she brings such a unique voice to the issue.
Yes, she does. She can speak from a point of authority,
Yeah, no question.
from experience, and really they won't debate her. Like, nobody from the abortion industry will ever go on the news across from her, because she knows her stuff, and there's really nothing they can do about it.
Yeah.
And they change their talking points constantly, and ours stay consistent and the same. And I think that's why we'll win.
Yeah, yeah. Very good. Well, Doug Johnson, thank you so much again for your transparency and your willingness to kind of step out of you haven't done this many times, you told me.
3 or 4, like on this hand.
Really counted on one. Well, I wouldn't believe that. You're a wonderful interview subject,
Oh,
I have
thank
to
you.
say. You've been wonderful, and our audience here has been tremendous, and I've just been honored to be able to be a part of it.
Appreciate it. It was fun. Thank you.